Happening now, we'd like to welcome our viewers from the United States and around the world. This is the EdTech Situation Room for October 19th, 2016. This is Wes Fryer coming from Oklahoma City, and I am very excited that we have both of our guests on, even though we have gotten some baling wire and some string out to make this work. I am wearing an OU shirt, not because I have changed affiliations or our children are going to OU, but just because it was the, I know Rachel's shocked. It was just the top shirt on my t-shirt stack in my closet. So anyway, I was feeling conspicuous about that, but there wasn't time to change. So I am the director of technology at the Cassidy School, and I'm going to throw it all the way up to Maine and to, I think, Kennebunkport?
Actually, now I'm in South Portland.
You're in South Portland. Well,
yes.
Bar, welcome. Tell us about yourself and what you're up to these days.
Hi, everybody. I feel like I'm having a re-something back into podcasting. This is so much fun. And thank you, Wes, for having me on the show. And I am the instructional technology integrator at Yarmouth High School in Yarmouth, Maine, and still cranking along. Just received our Apple Distinguished High School Award, so that's pretty exciting. And gosh, I don't know, I'm just busy geeking out.
How long have you all been one-to-one, Alice?
Since 2004 is our first year, so that's pretty exciting. Some cool stuff happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, very good. Well, you want to send it to, am I going to guess Wells? Is that where you are tonight, Cheryl?
Yes, it is. And this is Cheryl Oaks, and I'm in Wells, like with the mailing line, hooking me together through phone, and I don't know what is going on in the university podcast, but I'm a high school special education teacher, and I also do a lot with technology, trying to level the playing field for challenged learners, and I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. And for the record, I was thinking about this, getting started. You all were certainly some of the first educational podcasters I ever listened to with seedlings, and have been inspirations for years, and have been so thankful to get to come up to Maine a few times. And you all have just been on the forefront of educational technology for a long, long time. So I'm very thankful to call you all friends and to continue to learn with you all. So for those of you, it says 2 viewers. I think that may just be you and me, Alice. Sometimes we do have some live.
I saw Peggy George in some comment that she was waiting to listen in.
Yes, Peggy is usually a live viewer, and we have a few folks that have tuned in. But for those of you that, wherever you happen to be in space and time, most folks who are listening to the show are doing so after the fact. This is the EdTech Situation Room. You can find us on edtechsr.com. You can click the link at the top that is cryptically named links, and there you'll find the show notes for any of the resources that we plan to talk about, or the ones that we happen to that we'll put in during the show or afterwards. And generally, Jason Neifer, who is from Missoula, Montana, is my co-host, but Jason has been on assignment, as it was, the last week and for next week as well. And so I've had a chance to, oh, look at that. Oh, but he's muted. Okay, that's, okay. Cheryl, but we can see you. That's good. But it won't, I'll have to click on you because it won't automatically go to you. With the audio, but that's okay. As you start to talk, we'll switch over. So, before we jump into the article, Carol, tell us how things used to be for the web. Wasn't it Webheads? Is that
Webheads?
How tough was that back in the day? Wasn't that just like 5 years ago or something?
Oh my God! It seems like it was yesterday.
You know what? My speaker. Okay. There you go.
Okay. So years ago, although it feels like yesterday, we would have these glitches.
Oh, we are having some echo. Let me see if I can mute my mic while you're talking, and that may eliminate. Oh, that's not going to work because your audio is coming through here. Well, that's weird. Now we're getting echo. Gosh darn it.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll talk through my phone.
Okay.
Keep it away.
Yeah.
Maybe my microphone is working then.
I don't know. That's weird. Your computer's weird. Okay. So tell us about Webheads. What was it like just a few short years ago when you were trying to do this kind of thing?
Well, first of all, the biggest thing that I had to wrap my head around was time zone across the world. Because I would be speaking to people in Paris or people in Brazil, people in Japan, and we always met on Sundays at noontime, Eastern Standard Time. And so that was a way that the Webheads committed to one another to make contact and practice English. So it was really for English language learners. And it was managed with Vance Stevens and online free technology courses for basically for English language learner instructors.
Was that how you did the webcasting where you had to hook up SoundCloud or not SoundCloud? What was that thing called? Soundflower and all of that, and you had to. That was so convoluted.
Rogue Amoeba.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about going through that class, but I never did. And thankfully, Google, released Hangouts and.
Right.
We had like 3 different things we had to do to get started, right? Like we'd have to line everything up, literally, the sound, the Skype call, and something else. And then it would be like 1, 2, 3, go.
So we're going to sound really old to people and not very long, talking about these old days. I remember in the early 2000s at Texas Tech when I was there, we had student teachers taking videos of them teaching, and to get that video online on the QuickTime streaming server, and people had to have the plug-in, and even when you did all this work, no one even looked at it. I mean, it was crazy. So, okay, well. Yeah. Let's jump into a question or an article, and we'll just kind of share a little bit about it. And the first one I wanted to mention was from Adweek, which I've never even heard of before, so hopefully it's a legitimate source, from October 14th. And the title was Snapchat beats Instagram and Facebook as the top social platform for teens. And so I'll throw this one to you, Alice, first. How have you all seen at high school social media use morph, and you all block all those things, or how are you seeing this trend line happen at Yarmouth High School?
So we used to block Facebook, mostly because of bandwidth, not because we didn't want kids on it, but so now we have nothing blocked. And I mean, outside of SEPA and COPA, obviously. But kids, it's actually funny that this question came up because I asked kids the other day, we were doing a project, and what is the best tool for that project? And we said, should we have a Facebook page? And they looked at us like we had 3 heads. Too old. The adults are on that, basically. They love Snapchat, but they don't think it's a good tool for school because that's where their friends are. They love Instagram, but they think it's not a great way to do a school-wide project or something like that because of the way you have to follow people. So it doesn't have great privacy settings. And in terms of Twitter, they like Twitter, but they feel like Twitter is the news feed. Like they get all their news and their information from Twitter. So the basically, I think what kids think is that Snapchat and Instagram are their personal things that they use. Twitter is their news feed, if you will, and Facebook only if they have to go to like a group.
Now, how about you, Cheryl? How old are the kids these days, and how does social media fit into their lives?
Well, we're working with students same ages to high school, grades 9 through, and we use Facebook and Twitter for our school news, for instant news going out to the community. The students obviously are not there. They're in Snapchat, and Snapchat is not streaming to Facebook. I think the kids are also using Instagram, but like Alice said, there's just to follow certain people, and it's not, I don't know, it's not a good feed.
This is the first year we've unblocked Snapchat at school, and we have a social media director who, documents things, and she wanted to have a Snapchat skin. I'm going to just sound really old, because I do. I mean, I have to ask my kids to teach me this stuff too. The only time the reason I got on Snapchat was that's where Alexander, our son, has been, and there was more communication with him, via Snapchat. Anyway, I definitely think it's hard to help students, and I'm thinking of pre-service teachers that I've worked with, university, make the shift of seeing, for instance, Twitter as a tool versus something they just use personally, and it's not a natural that the kids do that or that make that kind of switch. So the article said that of those surveyed, 80% of the teens use Snapchat monthly, 79% are on Instagram monthly, and 52% use Facebook monthly. So that was saying that still half of them, used it, but definitely the majority of the use is on the Snapchat and Instagram. Cheryl, do you all block any of those things at school, or how does that handle filtering wise?
No, we don't block any of that.
Do you think that's common in Maine as far as a more open approach to filtering, or are you all outliers?
I really don't know. I don't know if it's 50-50 or.
Alice, do you have a sense of that?
I think 50-50 probably. I think many schools are unblocking, but I would say many still do block. I mean, I've heard a lot of blocked.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, the next article, I think I'm going to actually skip that one, the future without jobs. It's a pretty powerful one, but I want to go to the Google one because I know you are both very, have been very intensely involved with Google certified teachers and Google summits and all of that kind of stuff. The article is from the Google official cloud blog, September 29th. Oh, look, and I didn't even link the article. I linked, well, maybe it is linked I linked the wrong thing. It's called All Together Now, Introducing G Suite. It may be the most recent post that they've got there. Do you all want to tell a little bit about what you have done with Google and then bring us up to date? I don't know if you all are still doing googly things with EdTech team or with summits or whatever. Cheryl, you want to start on your Google updates in terms of what you've done and are doing now?
Sure.
I'm going to, hang on just a second. I'm going to try to turn off my speaker and turn it back on. I don't know why my phone's, there's off, back on. Okay, try now.
So I am a Google certified teacher, now Google certified innovator. And I still like to promote the Google tools. So I recently presented for our adult education. And that was kind of interesting because 5 people showed up for a Google class with a pad and paper, no laptops. And I was pretty shocked. So I went and got a bunch of Chromebooks and said, we're going to use for this class. So that was like a throwback to 10 years ago. Trying to teach people how to use technology without having it in their hands. And then 2 weeks ago, I was invited to Yarmouth, and I presented 2 different times on digital tools for challenged learners. And it was mainly special ed teachers, speech language people, and they were really excited to learn about the tools that I use with my students at Wells High School. And I was very nervous, Alice, because 6 of your people walked in and said, "Oh, Alice has told us so much about you. We can't wait to see you."
It's true. It's true.
Hey, Cheryl, I just had a thought. You have your headset still, your headphones? Why don't you try to plug that into your phone? Because are you getting a little echo? If you plug that into your phone, that might, if that has a microphone as well. Well, I bet it does. And then, then you're gonna do your earbuds.
And then turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Okay, good. I'm not hearing the echo. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Yep. Okay. Woohoo! More baling wire, more duct tape. We're gonna keep rolling. So tell me, because I saw the hashtag for that. So that was a Yarmouth High School Professional Development Day?
Yeah. Want me to go?
Very good. Yeah, Alice, tell us about your googly biography.
My googly stuff? Well, Cheryl and I went to California this summer for the Google Geo Institute in Mountain View. That was so much fun. We spent a couple extra days in San Francisco. And then we spent 2 days at Google, geeking out on their geography tools, My Maps. We used, oh my gosh, here goes my memory. What else did we do, Cheryl? We did My Maps. We did some,
virtual 3D virtual.
Yeah.
Expeditions. Yeah.
And cardboard.
Yeah.
So, and that was really fun because it was, we were in teams and it was just a really nicely done session. And then I've been doing some EdTech team. I actually went to San Francisco 2 weeks later and did another Google Summit. Then I did the Google Summit at our high school in August, which Cheryl came up for as well. So yeah, we've been doing lots of Google goodness.
That's great. And did you all see my Montana friends?
Yes, we did, Jeff.
Yep.
Jeff and
I was trying to pull up names.
Right.
This is why
we're just showing our age all over this show, baby. We ain't 25 anymore. Anyway, that's what I drove, that's what I flew to Lewiston to go to a few years back, was the Geo Institute. Right. That was the first time I had ever actually held a Chromebook, and that whole thing of boot in 8 seconds, I was like, Jerry Maguire, you had me at 8 seconds, because that was so amazing. And that was also the time that they had the guy who wrote the fourth part of the world, which is an amazing geography book. And they had 2 of those. They had one in Washington where based on the Waldseemüller map, which is the most expensive thing the Library of Congress has ever bought, $10 million, first map to ever put the word America on North America. Anyway, that's an amazing book. And I love that. So I just love the geo stuff. So have you brought some of that back to Yarmouth, Alice, as far as you have some geo projects going with teachers?
Mostly expeditions. We did expeditions with an iPad, since it's come out now for the iPad. One of the history teachers was doing absolutism with Louis XIV the other day. So to be able to take the kids right to Versailles was awesome. And the kids, these are sophomores, they thought it was so cool.
Now, did they use their phones, and did you have them install it early?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's been my challenge. I bought some of the plastic, Google Cardboard, but not having high-end touches. I've just had trouble getting my act together with students, having them pre-install so that it's, because some of it, we were trying to do the Clouds Over Sidra, United Nations, refugee story from Syria, which is wonderful, but it's over a gig in size. Or if you tried to stream that on our student network, anyway, the bandwidth is, so that's one of those things that we have yet to, I think, realize the exciting potential of. So
So I was very impressed with the way Expeditions worked because the kids downloaded the Expeditions app, but the Expeditions actually live on the iPad that the teacher has to control the what the kids are doing. And
Okay.
I did it on our network. And so basically I did pre-download the Versailles Expedition, but the kids did the downloading right there in class. So at the beginning of class, the teacher said, download this app. And then they put on their cardboards, and she controlled the experience, but it was super, very flawless because, and I think it's because the kids weren't really, like, they were using the iPad. I mean, they were connecting to the iPad.
So maybe there was some local stuff going on the network, maybe that wasn't all going out.
Yeah, it doesn't go out. I don't feel like the kids are accessing the network. They're just accessing the iPad.
Wow. Okay. So you've inspired me to give this a shot with some of our, we discourage use in middle school of phones, but at high school, pretty much, everyone has them. So I'm gonna visit with some folks and give that a try. Because was it this summer that went out of beta and became a thing everybody could do as far as expeditions?
Yeah, I think that it was out for Android. Now the iPad just came out a couple weeks ago, and
Okay.
I thought I put it off because I thought it was going to take some setup. It took me 10 minutes to set it up.
Oh, that's great. Cheryl, what was the highlight of the Geo Institute for you this summer?
I really like how you could take history and make it come alive with the Google Earth and GeoMaps. And so that's what I've really been hoping that we could promote that in our U.S. history class or in our World After class. We're working on our curriculum right now, and there was something that came up about geography, and then I mentioned that I'd been to Mountain View, and that kind of caught people's attention. Oh, well, we should do something with that. So.
Back to your adult Google class that you taught, what besides I don't know, having the Chromebooks in advance or encouraging them to bring them in advance, any other lessons learned from teaching Google to adults that are not as familiar with the tools?
I think the big takeaway for them was the collaborative nature of all of the calendar, the docs, the spreadsheet. There was one businesswoman that was there, and she has a lumber business and a hardware store, and really likes the ledger, and she really tried to make herself use technology. But the collaborative pieces of the Google Suite are what really caught her attention, that she doesn't have to do this alone, she can do it with others. And then for the adults, many adults and staff were there, and they really liked collaborative calendars. That really made a difference for them, because they were still using Safari and Firefox. So.
Oh, good. Well, we will go a little bit past the top of the hour since we were a little delayed getting started. I don't know if I actually have a timer. Usually we go about an hour, and we'll save time for Geeks of the Week. So Geeks of the Week, from seedlings, and the tradition continues. But I want to take us to this article, which whether you have read it or not, this is one of those things that we can all probably conjecture and talk about. And so the name of the article is Why We Need to Plan for a Future Without Jobs. And this was an interview with a guy named Andy Stern from Vox on October 17th. So my question, and I'm going to throw this to Alice, well, either of you, and maybe you've already looked at the map and seen it, but do either of you know what the most common job in 2014 was in the state of Maine and in the state of Oklahoma? I thought it was interesting that we share this. Any guesses?
Was it in the article? Should I? Oh, okay.
Well, you could look at it, but
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Lumber, but then if it's the same as Oklahoma, I would think that Oklahoma was lumber.
Yeah, so it's shared by 29 states. This is the most common job in 29 states, truck driving.
Truck driving.
Truck driving, yes. So I actually listen. I find a lot of articles that I don't fully read at the moment I find them, but I'll either read them or listen to them on Pocket. And this isn't a Geek of the Week, but if people don't know about Pocket, it is a great tool that will let you save articles. And what I love, being in the car a fair bit, is now it will read to you. So I was cooking the spaghetti for my girls tonight and pressed on my phone, read to me. Anyway, so I listened to this article. And what Andy Stern is the author of a book called Raising the Floor, How a Universal Basic Income Can Renew Our Economy and Rebuild the American Dream. And he's saying that a ton of the anger that we see now in the election, both on the right as well as the left, has to do with a lot of frustration that people have over how the economy is not working for a lot of folks, and that this is just going to get worse. And basically, it makes me think of Luddites and those folks who've really protested industrialization. But he's saying that artificial intelligence and technology, and think about Google and self-driving cars, he's predicting within 5 to 10 years, we're going to have a significant disruption in the trucking industry, which is the most common job in 29 U.S. states right now. Because the industry is just going to save millions and millions of dollars through automation. It doesn't mean that trucking and being a truck driver is going to go away. I mean, we're certainly reliant on trucks. But this article jarred me in a way that really reminded me of The World is Flat and listening to Angus King, because I remember listening with my dad in the car to a talk Angus had given, I think, at Actum, probably, that Bob had recorded, telling about the world is flat, telling about how, he realized that things had to change in Maine, with laptops. So anyway, I really would encourage everybody to read this article. And, he's not espousing communism, but what he's saying is, right now with our welfare state, I mean, we have a ton of giveaway that we have. And that there are lots of ways to work and to have a satisfying life that don't involve just getting a wage. Like, how about raising a family, or being an artist or doing other things? And he's saying that the economy is just going to continue to really profit folks at the top. And he talks about successful ones in the center, and then there's a lot of folks on the edges. And that this is really, it's a rethinking of the Protestant work ethic, which is kind of ingrained as almost a religion, in our nation. And he's advocating that we need to provide a basic income for everyone. And then, I don't know, I mean, I haven't read the book, but he's saying that it's going to get a lot worse rather than better as far as artificial intelligence and technology and all this. So as somebody who is fairly optimistic about technology, although we've had some interesting conversations about surveillance and, privacy and things like that. I'll just open that up to either of you to jump in. Any thoughts about those topics?
Alice, do you want to jump in? Or?
Well, I just was going to say the one quote that stood out for me was, our concept of work is problematic. And that actually also made me think of Thomas Friedman and The World is Flat. This is another big shift, another big disruption in how we think about it, only it's happening faster than the last time.
Correct, yeah. And catching us, I mean, I've heard, and I'm sure you all, the Alan Novembers, the Ian Jukes, the futurists, that will tell us about Moore's Law and how many decades it took for televisions to be adopted, and then CDs came and all this. And so we are living in that elbow of exponential change. But, try to be optimistic and think about what Richard Riley did as Secretary of Education, some quote about how many jobs will, the kids will have in the future that haven't been invented yet. And we hear people banter that kind of thing around. And there certainly are opportunities, but there's also, we needed a random way to assign students to lunch tables this year. And so I know about this website called Fiverr, where basically you can pay $5 and have people do lots of coding. Well, we ended up paying $22, but somebody in India, you know, wrote a quick Google script that randomly takes the kids, makes sure that there's no one at the same table, or no, obviously they're not at the same table, that they haven't been at that table before, and there's no more than 9 students at the table. I'm about to contact him again and say, but wait, we need to make sure we only have no more than 3 people in the same grade level, because some of that wasn't balanced. So it makes me think, you know, the world is flat. There are these coding opportunities, but that guy's not getting rich from me, you know, doing the coding. And so, anyway, what are your own?
Well, you know, when I looked at what was it, the UBI? I can't remember what it stands for, but it's
the universal basic income. Yeah.
Basic income. Yeah. And it made me think of livable wage, and I don't know if it's Harvard or Cambridge really talks about that concept that, you know, professors, custodians, food service, dormitory maintenance workers should have a livable wage. It shouldn't be lopsided. And so, you know, I thought, well, you know, that makes sense. And then when he talked about if we don't do this, we're going to be headed towards the Hunger Games. And that, I think kids will relate to that. Adults will relate to that. You know, we just don't want to limit ourselves. And if you listen to a couple of our candidates for Senate position in Maine, they're talking about how we've lost all these jobs in the woods, how we've lost all these jobs for shoe manufacturing, and that people who've had those jobs were just, they walked off the cliff and that was it. There wasn't anything to replace that. And my thought is, after, you know, looking at a little bit of this article, you know, we need to think out of the box. And I think Maine has specifically empowered people to be entrepreneurs and, you know, to start a sausage business, start the whole craft group. It's not just a Maine, New England thing. It's, you know, it's gone all through the state. Everybody is, you know, taking some of their chutzpah, some of their entrepreneurial spirit, and providing for those local jobs that are very successful and expanding to more. So I think, you know, it's power to the people. It's not waiting for a paper company to come in and, you know, make thousands and hundreds of millions of dollars and then all of a sudden leave and the people are responsible. So I think you know, I think we need to have students, and this was Angus King's vision, that we have to have problem solvers, we have to have critical thinkers, we have to have kids who will be able to collaborate across time and space. I think his vision of having like the whole state of Maine, all the students have that opportunity. It was equal. It's almost like that UBI, universal basic income. Everybody had the same tool.
Yeah. Well, a couple of thoughts I have. You know, my wife Shelley, we could really not teach in more different schools and work in more different schools, because our school is phenomenal. It is wonderful. And our youngest daughter is attending now as a 7th grader. I love my school, but it is an expensive school to attend. It's the most expensive school in our entire state to attend. And as Shelley works with mothers mainly of homeless children at Positive Tomorrows downtown, there are so many stories that I hear that we don't blog about, that we can't publicly talk about. But one of the biggest things is just, you know, how do we help folks who are really in some of the most challenging situations you could possibly imagine, because of sexual abuse, because of violence, because of incarceration, because of drug addiction. I mean, you go down the list and they're all there. their school is a shining light and a beacon, and it's a lot like that whole story of the starfish. The guys picking up starfish on the beach, like, why are you doing that? There's all these, well, you know what? It makes a difference for the starfish. I mean, there are kids that it makes a difference for, and I know that education has a huge role to play. But I also, this article makes me think about economics, and I've had this thought for a while too, that just like, we've got to think out of the box and not just assume the status quo is what we need forever. I do not know how many constitutional questions we have right now in Oklahoma, and as we're in the election and hearing about all these, it struck me that we don't have any federal ones, and so Larry Lessig is somebody who I've known about because of Creative Commons and copyright and some of the work he's done with media. And I know he was trying to run for the Democratic ticket. He's done work for the Sunlight Foundation and looking at campaign finance. But anyway, if nothing else, this article would be a great writing prompt for kids, and you could really have some good conversations, because he's talking about prospective ways to address what we're seeing. We try to steer clear of politics on the EdTech Situation Room for the most part. It's a little hard to do. In fact, isn't the third debate going on? Maybe it's going on right now. This is a lot better thing probably to do than watch that. Yeah. But this is, whether or not these specific proposals are going to be adopted or not, this guy is talking about fundamental things that involve technology. They involve, artificial intelligence and disruption, and so I'm excited to actually listen to this book. And it's interesting that you all made connections with The World is Flat and Friedman, because that book for me was a major paradigm changer, and one that I, continue to think about and continues to shape a lot of what how I see technology and our role as teachers in trying to, bring kids into the opportunities that will be there for STEM careers and coding and all kinds of things like that. Okay. Any other thoughts about that?
Well, I just sort of had been thinking, the whole piece about the sort of bandwagon about jobs that didn't exist. But in fact, I think that what our role in education is to give kids the tools that will allow them to be flexible enough to be the problem solvers, so that they can go on and start to really think about how are they going to solve some of these big, deep problems.
Right.
And I just think we have to keep giving them as many new, different opportunities, which means we have to take a little bit of a risk in our teaching practice. But I hope that we're really getting to a place where the fact that kids can think differently about what jobs are.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And we need to think about the role that healthcare and taxes and everything plays, because from 2009 to 2013, I attempted, and I did, to be an independent consultant. And I probably should have stopped doing that a lot sooner than I did, because only now are we literally, not to just be too self-disclosing, but I mean, the tax burden, if you don't set aside a ton of money when you're independent, then you get yourself into a really big hole that can be hard to dig out of. And if my wife hadn't been, insured, and I couldn't be on her insurance, I mean, either you're not insured or whatever. So I definitely agree that, there's a lot of energy in the maker movement and talking about STEM and STEAM, but on a very practical level, it is hard to be an independent entrepreneur. I was listening to an NPR today driving home that was talking about Airbnb. And it reminded me of Elon Musk, because one of these founders of Airbnb was talking about living poor as a single guy eating ramen, which I've heard Elon Musk talk about. I mean, there are windows of time when you can do that, but it shouldn't just be 24-year-olds who can eat nothing but ramen to get to make these great companies, right? Yeah. It should, you should be able to reinvent yourself and be empowered to do that at all stages of life. So,
yeah.
Good stuff to chew on. Well, it is a little bit after the top of the hour. I know that we probably will spend at least 10 or 15 minutes getting our baling wire and duct tape all strung together tonight so we could bring you this awesome show. And for the record, we've had pretty good success with YouTube Live. So, but who knows? It's all like other things. Sometimes it's always different every time you log in. So I want to go back because I forgot to ask it on the Google article. Why do you all think Google went to G Suite instead of Google Apps? 2 weeks ago, Jason and I kind of did a recap of a lot of the Google events when they announced the Pixel and some of these changes. And I read that at the event, Google had talked about seeing AI as the next really big thing. You know, mobile is playing a role, but AI is really big. So my guess is that it has to do with Google wanting to be seen as more than the apps. But you all are Google more googly than me. So do you all have a thought on why it's now the G Suite?
Somebody decided they needed to rebrand. I don't know. What do you think, Cheryl?
I don't know. I think they needed to do a little bit more marketing, because what I explained to the people who showed up to my Google class with a pad of paper and a pencil is that, you know, Google sold this to, especially to education. This is one login that gives you all the software that you need. And so maybe they just needed to reinvent that concept that open the door and you have the calendar, the docs, the spreadsheet, you can blog, you can do presentations. Everything lives in that one place.
Well, go ahead, Alice.
Oh, I was just going to say, well, in the outside of a business that uses the Google tools and outside of the education, that many people don't even know that set of tools exists, even if they have a Gmail account. So I wonder if that is one piece. And then the other might be, honestly, everybody got confused between GAFE and GAF. And, you know, that was sort of unwieldy. So, you know, you sort of wonder if all these things didn't pile up. And the suite makes sense that it means that there's more than Gmail, basically, and
Right.
search.
Right. Well, and definitely a big thing that's coming that we've talked about a little bit is the merger of the Google Play Store with Chromebooks. And so the potential for Chromebooks to, you know, have a touch interface, some already do, but to bring the store to that. And I do not want to get you in trouble with any of your Apple friends, as I will not go into the details of, but I have gotten myself in trouble saying, I said the word netbook too often in 2009 that made some people angry. But would any thoughts that you all want to share as far as how Chromebooks fit in? And I mean, we have MacBooks for all of our faculty right now. We're looking at refreshing. Well, in the next year and a half, we're going to have 90 refreshes at our elementary and our middle school. And so we're looking at what are we going to get? And we had a conversation this week, and if anyone's listening, no decisions have been made. These are just conversations. But, you know, what would that look like if we did a Chromebook and an iPad, you know, versus just a $1,000 MacBook Pro? What are your thoughts about where Chromebooks fit into all of this? Because you all are very you like me, I think I can fairly say this, have drank Google Kool-Aid and the Apple lemonade, and they both taste, you know, good, and you enjoy being able to have them both. So any thoughts on where Google fits in Chromebooks in the landscape of your schools?
Well, at my school, we have Chromebooks. The faculty has the Mac Air, and our students use Chrome. And it was interesting when I was at the Yarmouth and Falmouth workshop, I would mention a Chrome tool, and some of the teachers would say, well, the MacBook can do that. The MacBook can do that. And my selling point is that if you are in Google Chrome and your student goes home and uses Google Chrome, they take all of the tools that they had in school, versus if I'm in Pages or I'm in iPhoto or I'm in Numbers, I have to have a couple of steps before I can export it in a format that I'm going to be able to. So, we're blending. We have MacBooks and we also have iPads, but the majority of what goes into student hands are the Chromebooks. Now, Alice has a different protocol at her school.
Right, because Alice, as I recall, you all, your board voted when Maine was encouraged to go iPad, that your local board would pay more so you all could stay with MacBooks. Is that right?
That's correct. And our purpose for that is because after grades 7 through 12 have them for 4 years, we buy them out from the state and push them down to the lower grades. And that's how we've been able to be 1-to-1 grades 2 to 12. So,
Alice, your video went out just a little bit. There is a bandwidth adjustment that you can do at the top. If you click at the top, I don't know. It may have been a temporary glitch in your video, but the audio blipped just a little bit. So you said you've moved some MacBooks across levels, and that's allowed you to stay 1-to-1 MacBook at the high school.
Grades 2 to 12, because what we do is after 4 years, we lease the computers for 4 years. We then buy them out at the end of the lease, and so we push those down to grades 2 to 6. So that's allowed us to be 1-to-1 grades 2 through 12.
Have you all put SSDs or solid state drives in any of your MacBooks to lengthen the life of them as well?
Some of them, but not as many as we wanted to, and that was a financial thing.
Yeah, we've done
so yeah, but we would have liked to do that.
Okay.
But we're on the last year of this one, right? So we're just finishing 4 years again. So we'll now be able to buy out those MacBook Airs.
Okay. And do you give your teachers an option to buy those back, or what do you end up doing with them?
No, we keep them all
in school and moving them in the district.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Well, for anyone listening who is an Apple person, I love Apple, and we use our Macs, and there are affordances to multiple platforms, and we've got we're living in a multi-device world, right? If you were to tell me, Wes, you can't have your phone, Wes, you can't have your laptop, it wouldn't be like a small thing. So we've talked on the show before, we're all sort of becoming cyborgs, and we feel naked when we don't have our phone where it usually is, or when we're disconnected, it's jarring. So before we do Geeks of the Week, are there any of the other articles that any of you looked at that you wanted to comment on? Or, again, I'm not sure exactly how long we've been going, but I think we're probably getting close to needing to do Geeks of the Week.
I'm ready for Geeks of the Week.
Okay, well, all right. Why don't you take us to your Geek of the Week, Cheryl, and then Alice, you will, and then I'll wrap us up with mine.
Okie doke.
I watch a little bit of the debate tonight because I have history class tomorrow, so.
Very good.
My Geek of the Week is wordify.com, and I've used it for a couple of years now, but this summer it was boosted up and it has many more options. Basically, what you can do is you can take an article, paste it into rewordify.com. There's a text box, and it will take multi-syllable and put them into simpler words for students to understand. So it's good for your special ed population. It's good for your ELL students, and it's also matches or pairs up the vocabulary that it camps down and gives you the words, the meaning, gives you some closed activities that you can start using that vocabulary so that you can better your understanding of it. And so this summer, when it really was like on steroids, I looked into who actually made research. And this part is great too. I looked about it. Wes has a link to the and check out the blog. But this man, hang on, I'm going to scroll down to his name. Neil Goldman was a computer professional, and he wanted to do something more with his life. And so he went and taught suburban high school English class, and he said the first year of his teaching was the hardest. And then he wanted to do something for those students. And so he made and maintains Rewordify. So thank goodness for him as a coder to be able to make this piece of software that he gives all of us to use for free. You can also go through Rewordify and instantly get any material that's not copyrighted. So Edgar Allan Poe, something like Ralph Emerson. So it's really manageable as a tool for teachers, but also my students use it. When they're trying to read something that's too difficult, they just copy and paste it right in there to that web page on their own. So.
Sign of the times, and it makes me think, Cheryl, of your Google search stories that you were featured in, which I don't know that I think they took that away, right? That they used to have a grade level or something that you could click on right within search results. What was that they had?
That was readability, the reading level of the
Yeah. Right.
Come back.
So, and probably a sign of the times. It's like, you can have your Cliff Notes or whatever. I'm trying to Spark Notes now. But anyway, wow, great tool. Alice, what do you have for us this week?
Well, I found this tonight, actually, which was the new Google blog called The Keyword has a feature on it they're strictly for education. And today there are some new time-saving features in G Suite for education, but there are some very cool features that I think teachers are going to love. The first one is that in comments now they've added action items. And so if you put in a comment and type in a student's email address to go with it, it will not only send them the email, but it will put on the document a little badge that shows that they have to do some follow-up work. And it actually takes them to that work. It's pretty cool.
What?
Yeah, it's really cool. So it says, for the example they use is to do a little piece of follow-up, schedule a weekly check-in, you assign that to them, and then it goes, there's a little badge on the document that it goes to. It's really cool.
That's great.
Nice.
Yep. We're going to use that, I'm sure. Let's see. Then the next one is that was the search. The badge lets you search for the action items in your Google Drive. So that's cool. You can just search out action items. And then now in Forms, they've added it's word prediction. So the example that they use is, what day of the week are you or your parents available? And Forms will automatically determine that checkbox is the ideal question. How's that?
Can you say a little artificial intelligence, little machine learning, a little virtual assistant?
But here's the bonus on this one. They have now added the ability to upload a file to the form as you're answering the question.
Wow.
Oh.
So as an attachment?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, boom is right. Wow. And this is worth the price of admission, ladies and gentlemen. Week of the week with Alice and Cheryl are gonna, always blow your mind. So awesome. How did you find this?
Twitter.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm not going to elaborate at length on all these, but we have a very avid YouTuber now in our home. Rachel is over 500 subscribers on her on her Minecraft channel. So search for Rachel Artist. In fact, Rachel and I are both going to give TEDx talks next month in Enid, Oklahoma, at a middle school TEDx event called TEDx Waller. and she's going to talk about, I think the title of her session is Tales from a Teenage YouTuber. But she has friends all over the world that she connects with on Instagram and YouTube, and has played Minecraft with Connected Camps out of California. And anyway, we now pay a subscription fee. I think it's maybe $5 a month for this library of thousands of copyrighted open songs. Well, it's actually licensed. And so because she has access to this, she has all these great songs, and she doesn't have to worry about ever being taken down with copyright. And I mean, it's pretty cool. So anyway, TubeBuddy I found, and I was passing that on to her, and it's a Google Chrome extension that gives you a lot of management tools for your YouTube channel. So you can bulk do more and do more management things. And I really do think that having a YouTube channel professionally and personally as a sandbox to experiment with and play with is a good thing as an educator, but you know, for us to have them for our classroom, and this is the second year we've had a shared student projects YouTube channel to encourage teachers who are reluctant or just not sure, do I want to do my own YouTube, to say, hey, come on over here, and we can add them as a manager, or we've actually set up a separate, in some cases, student account that we let publish into that. So next thing is also Googly. I've found this group of Iowa guys that do they call it the GAFE Admins podcast. So maybe now it'll be the G Suite for Education Admins podcast. But I just was listening to the first one. They did one at a recent Iowa conference, and great stuff. And it's one of the things that my assistant tech director and I are both wanting to get more information about are the tools within the admin panel. And then the very last thing quickly is that we have a digital citizenship team at our school, and we've been tasked to create a 5-year strategic plan for digital citizenship by our headmaster. And in the course of those studies, this Providence Day School digital citizenship website, it was actually shared last weekend by Sue Bearden, who is now a White House Fellow for EdTech. And it's just a great resource. And I love how they're talking about at their school really working to change the vocabulary and the ways in which teachers are regularly talking about these things, not just in computer class or not just once a week, because it is, of course, Digital Citizenship Week nationwide, but throughout the year, because just like ethics, it's not something that's only reserved for the second week of October or whatever this is. It's something we need to be talking about all the time. So if you would like to access these amazing links and more, you can visit edtechsr.com/links and check those out. We are here usually on Wednesday nights. We rolled earlier a little bit because of our wonderful East Coast friends, but normally Jason and I are here at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Pacific, and 7 p.m. I think I said that wrong. 8 p.m. Mountain and 7 p.m. Pacific. So to take us out, would you all just kind of like to tell us where people can find you online and where you're sharing things these days? How about you first, Cheryl?
I don't blog very frequently, but I'm CherylOaks.com. And I do some posting in Google and some posting with assistive technology on Twitter or just main chats on Twitter.
And what is your Twitter?
Cheryl Oaks 50.
Cheryl Oaks 50. Okay. And how about you, Alice?
AliceBarr.com is my blog, and at Twitter I'm at AliceBarr, all one word, and on Google I'm +AliceBarr. And awesome. That's more or less where I share.
Yay! And I am W. Fryer on Twitter and speedofcreativity.org on the blogs, and am so thankful that you all joined, and
thanks for
you all a virtual hug, and just so great
I know.
To see you all, and we'll have to do this again, and we'll figure out what happened, Cheryl. There's something weird that happened, but hey, we're problem solvers, right? We're figuring stuff out. So for the record, we've had the iPhone on speaker, called up to Cheryl, and we had a little echo, and the earbuds solved. So Cheryl always ends her. We'll let you take us out, Cheryl. What is your closing salutation?
Oh, let's see. I'm going to do some shout outs to people. This is Cheryl Oaks, and a shout out to Miguel Gulen that you had on last week, I noticed. And Jeff Hugo, and Dave Cormier, and Doug Simonton, all the guys that started EdTech Talking at the webhead. They're over and out for World League.
All right, Alice, do you want to say goodnight?
Thanks for having us on. It was really a pleasure. I want to give a shout out to Peggy George, who's in the audience. Awesome. And over and out from South Portland, Maine.
All right, and good night from Oklahoma City. Until next time.